What are the stories that I meant to go over on Friday, but for some reason I guess I got so busy that I never even got around to talking about it. And that was the president's family vacation to Africa that he's going to take. This is apparently going to cost the taxpayers maybe upwards of $100 million so that he can go to Africa. Now, of course, they're trying to bill it as something other than a vacation, maybe some kind of a state visit. But, they did have a safari that they had planned, which they ended up canceling. I think they had the bad publicity of the fact that the Secret Service were going to have to take these high-powered rifles into the jungle, and maybe they would have shot a cheetah or, a lion or something that might have got a little close to the president. Maybe it would have been bad press to see these dead animals in Africa. But still, to me, this seems like a presidential vacation. But why can't he just go to Camp David? That's what it's for. $100 million to go to Africa. The country is broke. What happened to the sequester? I thought we're trying to find ways of saving money. I know he probably can't just load up the truckster and go to Wally World, with Aunt Edna or something. But Camp David is there. It's a beautiful place. He could, it's there for presidents to take vacations. Why doesn't he go to Africa after his term is over when it won't cost us so much money? If there's any important business, can't he just discuss it over Skype or something with the leaders over there? We don't have a lot of money. They're in order for him to go to Africa, they're having to bring like aircraft carriers down there. They're bringing, I think, 12 or 14 airlifting, 12 or 14 limousines. Who needs? Why do they need so many limousines? Does everybody in the motorcade need a limousine? But not only the limousines, they have to bring doctors. They got to set up a mini hospital because they don't trust the hospitals in sub-Saharan Africa. So we got to set one up. They've got all this bulletproof glass. They've got fighter planes going over there. It's like this is an enormous amount of money in order for the president to go to Africa. I would say we just can't afford to go. If it costs this much to send the president to Africa, then we can't afford to go there. No, there's no reason to go there. Just whatever you need to do, again, do it over the telephone, do it in Skype, something like that. Talk to, but we can't put on this massive production when the government is broke. Maybe he just wants to go back there. He wants to be, it's like a big homecoming for the president. And, he's taking his whole family there. And this is going to be really fun. But, what about $100 million? How many kids' college educations could we pay for? How many poor people can we feed? How many hungry people can we feed? This is what the president would be saying if it was some program, when they wanted to cut some spending. So what about that? How about just give the $100 million to poor people in Africa? You know how far that would go? There are people in sub-Saharan Africa that, less than $1 a day is all it takes to feed them. How many poor, starving Africans could we feed for the amount of money that we're spending just airlifting the limousines over to Africa so that he can drive around in style? And I don't know why we're not getting even more protests of the hypocrisy involved. When President Obama likes to talk about how he's willing to pay his fair share and how, hey, his taxes are going up just like everybody else's, he makes $400,000 a year and it's okay because he's going to pay higher taxes and he's willing to do that. The $400,000 a year that he's paid is peanuts compared to the amount of money that he earns in fringe benefits. You think he's going to get taxed on the value of this vacation? You think he gets taxed when he flies around on Air Force One? You think he has to pay taxes on the value? He's got an army of chefs. I was reading in this story about on a White House that they've got in the White House, they've got a projection room, like a theater in the White House, where the projectionist is working 24 hours a day. Just in case it's at 2 a.m. and one of the president's daughters decides she wants to watch a movie, the projectionist is there round the clock. Is that really, do we really need round the clock movies for the president and for his family? I mean, first of all, why do they need a projectionist? It's like, do you need an elevator operator to push a button? I mean, don't they just have a DVD player? I got a home theater. I don't have a projectionist. I'm the projectionist. I want to watch a movie. I put the disc in there and I push play. The president can't do that. We got to hire somebody to work full time, 24 hours a day, to show the president a movie because he can't figure out how to work the DVD player? I mean, his daughters don't know how to work the DVD player? Yeah, he doesn't have to pay any taxes on that. I also read that the president's dog handler is paid $100,000 a year. If the president can't handle his own dog, he shouldn't have one. He's got to pay somebody $100,000 a year. Why can't his daughters walk the dog? Is it a big deal to take the dog out? I mean, it's a big ground there at the White. Just let the dog out. He'll run around. How hard is it to feed the dog? Can't one of the White House chefs, can't one of the maids cover that? Can't someone just put some food in the dog's bowl? The dog, it's one dog. He needs $100,000 a year handler. What he's like? He's like a circus dog? What is he doing? I mean, the dog is there probably for photo ops for the president. So the president looks like a family man, so he's got his obligatory dog, but it's costing us $100,000. How about in the sequester? Why didn't President Obama say, you know what, I'm going to give up the dog handler, and I'm just going to ask Sasha to take care of the dog? That's what anybody else's children would do. Walk their dog, feed their dog. Just because you're in the White House doesn't mean that you're a princess and that you can't walk your own dog or feed your own dog. You need $100,000. This is the arrogance of President Obama saying, oh, the country is going to collapse if we have the sequester. We can't afford to cut anything. And I can't cut my 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week projectionist. Because I can't play a movie myself. And, you never know. It could be 3 a.m. and I just can't sleep. And I got to go downstairs and watch a movie. And, I can't figure out those books. I got to have that guy there. And, I got to have someone handling my dog. We're going over the excesses of the Obama administration. He fancies himself probably more of a monarch than a president. But apparently, President Obama, at taxpayer expense, flies in his barber from Chicago every 10 days to 2 weeks to give him a haircut. He flies him in. And the taxpayers have to pay the bill. The taxpayers are paying. This is not part of his income. He's not paying any taxes. We have to pay to fly a barber in from Chicago. Don't they have any barbers in Washington, D.C.? There's got to be at least one the president could use. And every 2 weeks, he gets his haircut every 2 weeks. I mean, you ever see his hair? I mean, how you can cut that with a Flowbee. He can do it himself. Why does he need to fly in a guy from Chicago? What is so special about the president's hair that it needs this, only this one guy has to be flown in from Chicago? Now, who knows what else this guy is doing in the White House? But does he not care? Does he not care at all about the way it looks or the hypocrisy or the country? I mean, think of all the money that you can save just out of the White House budget alone, let alone, what's going on in Congress and every place else.